All right, 306, Leland Live Talk 99.5. Here we go. Douglas Cooling and Heating bringing you the show this hour. Man, it's hot, then it's cold. It's hot, then it's cold. I don't mind some of this climate change if we're gonna be in the 70s this week. So you may need both sides of your system. You have to turn the air on a little bit. We've gotten used to it being cooler. It just feels warmer, you know what I mean? And then maybe another deep freeze next weekend. That system works overtime for you. Got to take care of it. It's a mechanical part of your house, and good maintenance is just key. Douglas Cooling and Heating is who I use. That's who I encourage you to use. Y'all let them help you with anything, new installs. I may be getting that done this year, and regular service, and of course, emergency repairs if something breaks loose on you. If you're already a customer of theirs and under their care package, I think they're just going to get to you quicker. It's a no-brainer. They know where you live. They know your system. They can respond more quickly with the right parts if you're already dialed into what they do. Otherwise, we all need a good heating and air company in our lives, and they've helped me as a company with all of my situations in, I think, 3-4 different houses over the years. We're going on 17 years. It's Michelson Laser Vision, Douglas Cooling and Heating. My eyes read the wrong thing. Douglas Cooling and Heating, license number 2017181. Douglas Cooling and Heating, calldouglas.com, CALL, calldouglas.com. Easy enough, CALL, calldouglas.com. Well, man, we got big stuff to talk about, and the two big stories clearly are the international story of this Venezuelan situation, and, of course, by the way, not Hugo Chavez, he got cremated in this whole assault, but Maduro, did he enter the transfer portal? Is that what I'm understanding? Did they transferred him? He reluctantly entered the transfer. He's in another place right now.
Yeah, he was trying to look for that NIL deal, so
yeah,
that didn't work out.
Now living in prison. I wonder why they took him to New York. I need to figure that out. He was indicted, but for some reason they took him to the New York jurisdiction, which seems counterintuitive to me. And I think the judge, I read somewhere that the judge they've assigned to the case, of course, he had a preliminary sort of an arraignment today, not very ceremonial. He and his wife pled not guilty. But I think they said the judge in that case is 92 years old. So these federal judges, they get lifetime appointments. And one of my favorite stories about that, I'll do a sidebar real quick. When I was a young court reporter, I would report on the courts and crime and the cop stuff. That was just my beat. And I'll never forget a case. I think it was DuPont. It was a big federal civil lawsuit that was going down in Columbus, Georgia, where I lived. And so we were sort of stuck covering this federal case every single day. We couldn't bring our cameras in the courtroom. It's awkward to cover something like that back then. So I'm sitting here listening to this dry technical testimony about this case, but it was of national importance. So it gave me a chance to file some stories nationally, and it was cool to learn a lot of that at that age. But the judge in that case was 90-something years old. His name was Judge, if I remember right, Judge Elliott. And I'll never forget, Judge Elliott, they can't be fired. They can do what they want. They're the kings of their domain if you get a case in their courtroom. And every day, AJ, this is also kind of romantic. Every single day, when it got to, I think, 11:59, he would pick up that big old gavel and slam it down. Prosecutor could be in the middle of one of the best points he's ever made in his entire legal career, and Judge Elliott would go, bam, recess for lunch. He was an old Southern gentleman. I think he was appointed by Kennedy. So he'd slam that gavel down, and he'd put on his hat and his top coat, and he'd get his umbrella or cane, depending on the weather, and he'd walk 3 blocks down the street and meet his wife for lunch every single day. She came before anything was going on in that courtroom. And I'd all watch him. I said, why does he do that? That guy was about to say something. Because it's 11:59 and I'm going to eat lunch with my wife.
Yep.
For 1 hour every time. Bam, he'd gavel out, and people just got used to it. They'd watch the clock and know to time their arguments because Judge Elliott was going to eat with his boo. He was going to eat with his sugar mama, who I think he'd been married to her like 50 years by then.
But then I would have been like the prosecutor or the defense attorney, but like, hey, excuse me, can I have lunch with y'all? I'll pay for y'all lunch. I just need to finish
Maybe to get a point in real quick and ask you some questions. No, probably not. It'd probably be a quick way to lose that case. Anyway, so they got this older member of the bench. And I do believe we've got problems on the federal bench. all over this country. We got activist judges that are worse than it's ever been. Just corruption, like this Lurch guy that keeps ruling against Trump on these specious grounds. We need a thinning of the federal courts as it is, but I do think there should be age limits on those appointments. It doesn't make any sense to make it a lifetime appointment. At some point, we even do that with our own Supreme Court, and I forget what the age is, but you're gone. You hit that age limit, you're out.
I mean, you got to think about it. You got an age requirement to be an FFA worker, to join the military, all these other things. But then someone who was supposed to interpret the law, but Papa over here got half dementia, don't even know where he's at.
The clerks are doing all the work anyway. The judges are just ceremonially sitting there doing whatever. And some of them will milk that till they die. They won't die with their robe on. And that's the way Elliott was. I think he did. I think he was still in office when he passed. Anyway, complete side note. So Maduro's in court today. They pled not guilty. I was reading all these facets. There's so many ways to look at this. There's the energy production part of Venezuela and what that means to the world, the people, the freedom issue. I mean, I can compartmentalize this story a number of ways. There's the legal issue of the predicate that the Trump administration used to go in there, same basis that we've used for other operations all over the world. And I said this in the first hour, don't even come at me like this is anywhere near unprecedented. One of my own sons was saying that we were texting each other about, this seems unprecedented. And I was like, because he's 30 something, and he didn't know about Panama and Grenada in this hemisphere. Good Lord, I could keep going. What Obama was trying to do in Syria and failed to do, overthrowing that regime, just in his term, Libya, Egypt, Tunisia, we had a part in overthrowing those governments. W went in and took out Saddam Hussein with a whole war machine, got a lot of people killed to do it. Nobody got killed. Our Delta Force, which, by the way, is for people that are involved in Delta Force, if you know your history, and this is so cosmic to me, it's so serendipitous, or I don't want to overstate it, but the first mission that Delta Force ever tried to execute was an attempt to rescue our hostages in I believe by now it was early 1980 when this went down. During the election year, Reagan versus Carter, and Carter finally gave the green light. The Army had put together a special team to do these specified missions. They had rehearsed, they planned it. There's an incredible book on this whole subject, if you just want to do some history reading, called Guests of the Ayatollah. I don't even know where my copy is. I think I lent it to somebody. It was one of the best books I ever read about it. I go back to it a lot because these were my formative years. I was in the 7th or 8th grade, and I was paying attention. It was alarming to me that our country was getting pushed around by these Iranians, okay? I'm going somewhere with this, so hang on. So famously, Carter commissioned the Delta Force to go rescue those hostages. And it was a mission that was, if you look at the history of it, it's very similar to what we were trying to do here. Covertly sneak into a fortified area, and in this case, it was a snatch and grab. That it was going to be more complicated to move all those hostages. But the whole mission failed. They had to refuel in a desert the rescue helicopter, so they had pre-advanced dropped these fuel bladders. They were supposed to drop down and fill up the helicopters and go in low. A sandstorm came up, and when they relaunched, 2 of the helicopters crashed into each other. Sandstorm took out the rest. The whole thing had to be aborted. It was a national embarrassment. And Delta Force was what they named it, and there are lots of books written about it. And they sort of got a black eye. This was supposed to be their first real macho mission. Now, I know purely it's not the first operation like this, but this was marquee, and it was early in the days of the creation of Delta Force. But they stayed around, and they have matured to the point that all these years later, a mission that they flawlessly executed in Caracas, Venezuela, could lead to the freedom of the people in Iran in 2026. Does that make sense? Even though that organization within the United States Army had a huge setback all those years ago, what are we now, 50 years later or more? The fruit of that, of them staying together and becoming so good at what they do, they rehearsed the takedown to minute levels. We had invaded Maduro's life. We knew everything he did. We knew what he ate for breakfast, where he slept. And I gave a little treatment to this earlier. So this portion of it, just the raid itself and how it worked, is just breathtaking. You had that ignorant woman on CBS try to press Marco Rubio on it, and she's just so foolish. Why didn't we also arrest so-and-so? Listen, we got in and out in 3 minutes. Snatched one of the most protected thugs and dictators in the world, and none of our people lost their lives. None of them were injured. One of the helicopters got shot at, but we made it out. And it was precision unlike, the only thing I think that rivals it in modern times was flying those bombers all the way across the world and taking out the Iranian nuke program and catching the world by surprise. Same kind of reaction. The left opposes everything Trump does. So they said that was World War III, and we didn't go to war with Iran. We just took it out. We weakened them and took that argument off the stage. It was brilliant, not only in its philosophy, but in its execution. And the same thing happened here. So Maduro is being guarded by 32 Cuban sort of military types. The Cubans have also been using Venezuela as a launch pad for their communism and stupid worldviews. So they've been propping each other up. And so they had these 32 guards. We killed all of them. All 32. They're also in the transfer portal to hell.
You know, one thing that was interesting when I saw the press conference with Rubio and Trump, the way they said that this was more of a police action than it was a United States going into foreign land and overthrowing the government. It was more about the drug trafficking than it was anything else.
Yeah, there's arguments. That's a good point. He had warrants on that issue, and so he had outstanding warrants for being arrested. The Biden administration, whoever was running that show, had they upped the bounty on his head. They didn't have the balls to go do it themselves, so they wanted somebody to snatch him. I don't think they really wanted any of that. I think they just had to look tough. Again, play the Chuck Schumer hypocrisy soundbite real quick. So the left, then they say, "Oh, we're just doing it for oil." What the hell do you think the Russians and the Chinese and the Iranians were doing? We just had to seize those oil tankers that they were using to transfer oil between Iran, another sanctioned nation, and Venezuela. They were doing an end run around the whole world trying to put pressure on this illegitimate president who was not elected. So you didn't overthrow a legitimate government. You arrested one individual, and now the citizens of that country get to vote for a leader that they want, that they voted for, that's legitimate, that can run their country. This guy seized power and didn't want to relinquish power. And so now those people are free. We liberated an entire country in a 3-minute execution for the most part. I mentioned this earlier, back to the execution of it, and then we'll go to Goober. They brought these acetylene, I guess they were acetylene, they were some kind of plasma type torches to cut the vault open where Maduro slept at night. So he sleeps in a vault guarded by 32 military members, guarding the whole compound. Complete paranoia. And we got in there and snatched him out of there so fast he didn't have time to shut the vault door and lock it. And if they did shut the door and lock it, they had trained and practiced on cutting a hole and still getting him out. It just would have taken longer.
I mean, all they got to do is get the boat colors. You know those locks that you had on the locker back.
You think he had like a little master lock on there? Those little Chinese. Master lock.
Just put your ear next to it.
Timu lock. Yeah. Like on a school locker, that little dial. They're like 36 to the right.
Right.
6 to the left. No, we were going to blowtorch the whole thing open. Send him. And that's it. And they got his old lady too. Got that hag. By the way, the Swiss have just announced that they have seized all of the assets of these Maduro administration officials. So ask yourself this, defenders of Maduro, why has he got money in Switzerland? All these guys siphon money off the people, and the people are starving to death and are ready to uprise in the streets. And he had him a little safety net security fund over in Switzerland. Now all their assets are frozen. All the money they stole is now locked. They can't get to it. So I hope that gets repatriated back to Venezuela. the American oil companies that who are always, on the look, I'm not saying they're pure, but they invested billions in that country to give them the lifestyle they had before envy took hold. These people bought into the false promise of socialism and stole the American investment in the equipment and tried to kick the Americans out. Now they can't get oil out of the ground. They could barely function that way. $10 billion of those assets are due for a refund. And so now these companies that have the know-how to get in there and get the oil out of the ground can go back to work and make these people wealthy again, give that country a national asset. Everything about it is positive. So we arrested the guy, as we have done other dictators all around the world over the years. When there is a national interest, there was absolutely a national interest in that country not being a staging ground for attacks on our country. There's so many levels of this thing, it's amazing. And back to Pete Hegseth, let me give some more props to that guy. He has been maligned. He's been personally accused of things. They've had fake scandals against him. They try to call him incompetent and a TV host. This dude gave up a multi-million-dollar salary to go serve for $256,000 a year. And he is executing that job in an incredible way. One of the most incredible things about this operation is not just the skill set of the Delta Force that went in there, the way they rehearsed it, is that the mission didn't leak. It is difficult to do, and nowadays, with every player in D.C. being an opportunist and trading on information, none of it leaked. Just like the Iran operation, that's 2 in a row for Trump. In his previous administration, Trump also had some military operations when we bombed that Iranian general right out of existence. In basically a covert operation. We already had assets closer to him, but the intelligence was incredible. But what a remarkable 360-degree change from what we used to deal with. We had a guy wearing 15 COVID masks who snuck off to a hospital to get an operation and didn't tell anybody. We had men wearing pencil skirts around the Pentagon, bossing door kickers around and lecturing people about social justice and pronouns. This country Navy ships were ramming into each other and wrecks and aircraft falling out of the sky. They were completely being mismanaged. Morale was down. Recruitment was down. Retention was down. They couldn't keep people in. All that is completely reversed in less than a year. Recruitment numbers are through the roof. There's pride back in those uniforms. They're executing military missions the way Americans ought to. And they're being led by a decent guy who's doing things right. This has been amazing to watch the fallout of. All right, I tell you what, let's hold off on Schumer. We'll play him in a minute. This just sums up everything these idiots are about on the other side. Birmingham Broker bringing you the show tonight. If you're going to be doing some car trading in the new year, and a lot of people have to do that, from time to time, it's just time to trade. It's time to change the vehicle you're driving because you need more seats or less seats or a truck and not a car or whatever. Sometimes you just want a new one. And that's reason enough. But don't go and get ripped off on yours. Let Birmingham Broker sell it for you. They need cars and trucks. The demand's going up with the economy's improving. Demand is up for pre-owned vehicles. You'll get more money now than in markets past. I think post-COVID, there was a huge boom in pre-owned because the factories weren't putting out a lot of product because of COVID. Now we're going through another boom. Let Craig and Keith get you what you should get for that car. And they handle all the details. You don't have to do any sweat. They just do it for you. You get a check. Life is good. Reach out to them and take the car downtown and let them work with you. They're on 4th Avenue South, BHAMBroker.com, BHAMBroker.com. Man, Crocker Moving Services can help you get that stuff moved. If you got some stuff to move, sometimes it's just one big old thing or a lot of big old things. You just don't want to pick it up and hurt your back and stress out your friendships, ruin your furniture, drop it, hit the walls. Let the pros do it. Crocker can handle it for you. Difficult stuff, difficult moves. Sometimes you got stairs and odd turns involved. They've got the tricks, they've got the crew. Eric Crocker hires the best people that can be found. He always says, I wouldn't send anybody to your house. I wouldn't have it in my house. These are just hardworking folks. Takes a lot of stress off of you. They say next to death that one of the most stressful things in life is moving. And I believe it. Lord, I believe it. They've helped me so much. And they've never gone over their estimate. They're so good at estimating their rates. By the way, they've got a 2-hour minimum, and that's pretty cool because they can scale their services down to exactly what you need and then move on to the next customer. So you don't have to book them for a whole day. They can just come get that thing knocked out and move on to the next folks. It helps all of us. Or if you need a full-fledged multi-truck, multi-person crew to move all the way across the country for some reason, they got you covered on that too. They can do it all. CrockerMovingServices.com. Y'all visit them in the new year if you got any moving needs, business or residential. CrockerMovingServices.com. Bottom of the hour, back in a minute. So much to do today. Hang on, Leland Live. All right, y'all, 335 Leland Live. Let's do this thing. Allen and Company also bringing you the show. Well, we got gift giving coming up. Here comes, fellas. Here comes Valentine's Day. AJ shaking his head in there. It's one thing after another, isn't it?
Man, look, I went to one of those stores, and they already had, like, the Valentine's, like, candy.
Oh, it's out, man.
It's already out.
It's the next thing. So get to planning. There's also sort of an engagement season, and I learned this from Allen a few years ago. More rings and diamonds are sold between, I guess, around about now, about Valentine's Day and early summer than any other time of the year. It's spring. People feeling froggy. If you're feeling sparky and want to get engaged, go by go by Allen and Company and pick out that either Valentine's or engagement setting. Of course, upgrades. That's so popular for Valentine's Day. Get her ring upgraded. She's been with you for years. Y'all get it when people first get married. You don't have a lot of money. You buy the best ring you can, but y'all are doing better now in life, and you can upgrade that diamond, repurpose the old diamond, keep the same setting. Just let them work with you. Allen is a master jeweler. His family are just the greatest folks and so helpful without being pushy. It's a boutique store. It's not one of these large chain, pushy, got all their gimmicks down, trying to hit you with some jive when you walk in. They just they want you to get what you want because they know you'll keep coming back. Y'all, it is Allen and Company. They're in Vestavia on the main big hill there, the Highway 31, where all the retail stores are. I always tell you, if you're going up the hill, they're on the right. If you're going down the hill, they're on the left. Y'all know what I mean. Allen and Company, y'all go see them this year. All right, let's do some phone calls. I've got so much to say. I will talk without stopping, but want to get some of y'all in here, and I do appreciate the calls here in the new year. 545-9950 is the number, by the way. I haven't given that out enough. Mark is in Odenville. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Leland. I worked at the Pentagon years ago, but there's a pizza shop in Arlington, Virginia. Now, because I guess it's the digital age, there's someone that watches this pizza shop because when we would be held over, it's where you order your pizzas from. Well, they had somebody put out a blurb that they knew something was up with the night Maduro was captured because they had, like 30 pizzas ordered from there for the Pentagon to pick up.
Yep.
And, I get it might be some guy in his basement just monitoring it, but it was kind of neat that, this guy had a heads up that there was something going on.
Yeah, I saw some graphics on that. There was this pizza index where they were monitoring all the pizza chains around the Pentagon, and allegedly right before a big operation where they're all hunkered down. I know that happens here. We get a lot of pizza in this building before a snowstorm. But I don't know where that data would be public. I don't know how real-time sales data on the pizza stores would actually be out there. So there's probably some fudge going on with it. But it makes sense. I mean, there's everybody's going to be there for a while. They're executing an operation. You got to feed the crew, and pizza's real easy.
They got good pizza there, too.
Apparently, that's what I hear.
Okay.
Good stuff, Mark.
Okay.
There you go, buddy. Mark, thanks for holding to get that in here tonight. Dylan is going to be up next on a cell phone. What's up, Dylan? Dylan. Am I pronouncing his name wrong? Dylan.
No.
Dylan, are you there, man? I guess he doesn't realize. You think he's listening on the radio?
Probably is with a delay.
I'll be fair and stick him on hold instead of going right to him right now. I'm bouncing around, but y'all just forgive me because we got development on all these stories as we move along. Again, back to Iran for just a minute. And I know sometimes we'll get local, we'll go national, but there's a lot of international news. Even this Tim Wall story is an international story. These are foreigners that came in here at the invitation of the Democrats and ripped us off. And now we're getting word tonight that another 3,000 immigration, I guess, ICE agents are heading to Minneapolis as part of the continued operation to discover this fraud and get these people out of here. At the bottom of it, you gotta evacuate them back to Somalia or wherever the hell they came from. They got to go home. They do not deserve to be here. Now, there's the trade-off of some of these people need to go to prison, including, I think, Tim Walz, because I believe he was an active participant. And part of him stepping down today was he's covering for himself. Is he going to tell the court, oh, I was just being a knucklehead? Do you remember when he said that? What a goober. What a talentless ass clown. to steal a line from Office Space. Do you remember when he used the Michael Bolton character? I don't want to play that clip. Never mind. Oh, Schumer. I was supposed to play Schumer. Then we'll go to Dylan, see if he's there. So here's Schumer back to the Maduro raid, being an absolute hypocrite. This guy is on every side of everything. And here's the thing, though, and y'all dialed this into your memory bank. When you're just opposed, in this case, to Trump for the sake of being opposed to Trump, you're going to be on the wrong side of your own issues. You're going to pick, if you're just opposing him to be opposing him, you're not giving him credit for doing things you actually support because you're scared of your base and you're trying to stay in full opposition all the time. That's a losing strategy. Trump, by the way, approval numbers out on him, and we haven't really had time for this Venezuelan raid to be fully effective in the polls, but he's at his highest ratings he's ever been. Economy's slowly improving, just a little bit at a time. We're heading into a year where all the new tax laws will kick in. People are going to see more in their paycheck. They're going to see more in their refunds. There may even be a big taxpayer dividend this year. Energy prices are easing down. Once we start getting that flow out of Venezuela, they're going to come way down. Now, there's a danger in that, too. You don't want them too low because that creates its own dysfunction. But, yeah, I mean, so you got Schumer vehemently arguing and making fun of Trump for not having the courage to go after Maduro. And what was his excuse? Because Maduro was allied with Putin and Trump was Putin's puppet. Remember all that? Trump is taking out pieces on the chessboard while they're just playing pin to tail on the donkey. Two different games. Here's Schumer being an idiot.
Brags about all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
So what can the Congress do?
And now here's Schumer
the next
today,
question is
or
very
this week.
simple, and that is that we have the War Powers Act. That's a privilege resolution, which means the Republicans can't block it. Tim Kaine and I and Rand Paul are sponsors of it. It's going to come to the floor this week. And if it is voted for, if it's voted positively in both houses, then the president can't do another thing in Venezuela without the okay of Congress. We have to pass it.
President Trump say that he intends.
Okay, so it goes on and on. You get. They're all like that right now, and this isn't the. This is just the latest issue where they've had to forget what they ever said about anything, including. I mean, I saw a clip this weekend of Joe Biden back when he had his mind somewhat and more hair, calling for the United States government to create a military operation to start taking out by force drug cartel members and their operations in their lands, in their countries. They've all been on all sides of this thing. Y'all get that, though. Annie is in Talladega. What's up, Annie?
Hey, I don't know if y'all talked about this earlier. I was late tuning in today. Have you mentioned that Hilton is refusing reservations for ICE agents in Minneapolis?
Not yet, but Homeland Security, what I know about the story so far is Homeland Security actually put a post out about it saying that the Hilton hotel chain, at least in Minneapolis, was actively not serving ICE agents. I guess that means restaurants, or they're letting them stay there. And they sort of made that known to the public. And there's been typically a reaction as an online pushback where there's some conservatives calling for a boycott of the Hilton properties.
Well, Hilton has released something that says that they are actively investigating the claims. So they're damage control.
Yeah, they have to. It sounds like somebody locally executed this and the bigger company didn't know about it. And by the way,
Yes,
Hilton
owned.
Hilton Hotels owns a ton of brands, and a lot of these are farmed out to, ironically, people from India who will franchise these things, but they actually own the hotels themselves. I've had to work in this space a little bit in the past on some of these kind of deals because they've got low, budget places and nicer places. So Hilton better get on that because it got out there pretty quickly, and people are, the internet is moving at warp speed right now, and people will start, canceling reservations, just connecting guilt by association through the brand alone. They're going to have a Bud Light Cracker Barrel crisis on their hands if they don't get a hold of it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, and I'll hang up and listen.
And here's what I would do, because y'all know I study PR disasters for a living. I'm telling you, if I was Hilton, just to get ahead of this stuff, I would just open up one of my hotels and let ICE stay there for free for a couple of nights. Just let them do it, or do something nice to show that wasn't you. That was one of your franchisees who are part of the culture, that sort of anti-American culture that's in Minneapolis right now. Dylan, let's see if he's still there. I was going to give him one more shot. Dylan, are you there?
I'm here, dude. I forgot. I muted you by accident with this new Bluetooth thing I got.
That happens. I get it.
Yeah. I am ecstatic for the Venezuelan people.
Yes.
About what happened over the weekend. I love it. It's a good idea. It helps them, helps us. My question is, as flawlessly as they pulled that off, why can't we do that with our crooked politicians over here? When are we going to see some arrests that quick?
Well, we can't use the military for that, and I think that's going to be the difference. We're counting on a bunch of political prosecutors like Pam Bondi to have courage. This woman's a politician. She's never going to have courage.
Be fired.
She is a politician, and I personally believe you're going to see her and probably Kash Patel depart their positions before the end of the year, if not sooner, because they just don't have the courage to move.
It begs the question, Leland. I mean, do a deep dive into it. Why Dan Bongino all of a sudden, resigns from his post? He sees stuff that is not changing. He sees how corrupt it is and don't want anything to do with it, or
it's either that or he wasn't a fit for the job and they sort of forced him out. It's hard to know. I don't know if he can go back to his radio show, but he says he was too far. His family never moved there with him. He's separated from them. I get the pressures of that. The dude had already achieved some amount of success. And I'll tell you this, though, as far as Bongino goes, because I've never listened to his whole radio show, but I like the guy. But he tended to overpromise and underdeliver, too, so he set himself up in a lot of ways. And he did not.
They all do.
He did not look in control during that Brown University shooting when they sort of imported him to stand around in the background. And that's 2 or 3 times where he was in the spotlight, but he kind of demurred and really didn't seem to have a command of the situation. There was that hit piece on him, and Kash Patel has a similar problem. But
right.
I think going back to his successful show and his comfortable life and not having to put up with the dysfunction that is serving for government, the way I relate to is I had a stint working for government early in my career before I got back in the radio and I'd gotten out of TV and gotten organized. I worked for both the federal government, and I could only take 8 months of working for the state of Alabama government. It was a nightmare if you want to
imagine.
If you want to solve problems, if you want to make change, if you want to look for corruption, if you want to see, and you just run up against molasses. It's like walking through a literal swamp. Not that everybody there's bad. There's some hardworking people, but the system itself is just not changeable in a lot of ways. And that's why when a lot of these politicians, especially in Alabama, crook their finger and point it at the camera and tell you how hard they're going to fight, I don't care what party they're in, they're not going to fight. They're not going to be able to fight. They don't have the capability of cleaning things up single-handedly.
There is a massive number of people out here, Americans, that are getting very disgruntled with, no accountability in our government with all this proof of shadiness, and it's getting really, really loud. Certain groups on certain social media sites, numbers. It's really. I'm afraid somebody's going to do something stupid if there's not some accountability, and we can't have that.
Well, we can't have that because that would kill the momentum on everything. But I will say this.
I got to roll, my brother.
All right, you take it easy, brother. Thanks for hanging in there too.
Good to meet you as well, too, Leland.
Yeah, thanks, Dylan. Good stuff, man. Listen, boy, I could go long on this, and I've got a short segment here. the one thing I think Trump is missing is an aggressive attorney general that is both understands the law, doesn't really care about the spotlight or future ambition, and will just. I don't want him to do what the Biden team did and make up cases and political retribution, but smoke out the fraud and arrest these people, including the Republicans that are involved in it. Because I'll guarantee you, there are Republicans that are as compromised on the national level with the graft and corruption the way it goes on as some of the Democrats. But these known scandals, all that mess in Georgia, all these made-up prosecutions, that has to be dealt with. But they're bigger things. This, for example, this Minnesota situation, it doesn't have to do with anything about Trump's history or the raid on his home or the frame job they did in Georgia and all that. Those people need to be held accountable. This is a completely separate issue. This was just straight up, naked, out of control corruption. And yes, it needs to be dealt with. One of the next things I think is the money laundering operation that was Act Blue. If you cut the heart out of that and get to the bottom of how the Democrats were funneling billions of dollars, probably from overseas interest, and indeed, I believe some of the drug cartels busting them into small dollar donations on behalf of straw donors that don't even exist, or donors that were giving to the Democrats and didn't even know they were giving to the Democrats. They were stealing people's identities to give $25 contributions to their candidates from illegal sources. And that is the classic definition of money laundering. You disintegrate the money. It's the same thing the Bidens were doing when they were taking money from the Ukrainians and the Belarusians and everywhere around the world. You bust it into pieces, you run it through that system, and then you reintegrate it at the targeted source. You put those puzzle pieces back together where they go. And that's exactly what they were doing. And I said it earlier, they were using USAID for their own personal benefit, political benefit, and personal goals. I think the CIA was using that as a piggy bank as well. This Act Blue was a political organization, money laundering, and doing a lot of fraud, and some of that's coming to fruition. I believe Venezuela is connected to some of this as well, from the voting machines to everything else. They almost had control. We came so close to them rigging our system where it was, and people are still cynical about it, but to the point of no return, because the one thing we could have done to overthrow this country would be to complete 100% doubt in our ability to elect our own representatives. When it's not even plausible that that's legitimate, if we don't have the ballot box, it's fighting in the streets. And they were already raising tensions by design, cloud and pivot strategy, using race and sexual identity and other social issues to keep people at each other to distract from what they were doing. And all of that, the brakes have hit so hard on that. Trump's having to fight his domestic enemies with all those operations and still deal with the Chinese and the Iranians and all the commies in the world. And, of course, the whole axis of evil with the Russians, the Chinese, and the Iranians. Every one of them are paying attention right now. Again, it was Chinese equipment that failed. The Chinese had a delegation in Caracas when this went down. They had a security team there working with Maduro. He had given them a beachhead to mess with us. And they were all lucky to get a flight out of there. They're like, I don't care. I will fly frontier. Let me go. They didn't see us coming, did they? And their little air defense systems they sold Maduro, worthless. Snuck on in there, didn't we? Y'all, man, dude, let's talk about getting it right, getting it tight. I've had so many conversations today. I'm in it too. AJ's in it. I think everybody here's in it. We're going to do right. We're going to eat right. We're going to get right. We're going to work out harder. I'm committed, except I didn't do it today, AJ. I was working on all my technical issues in my home studio and just ran out of time. Maybe I can get my workout in tonight. Y'all, we're all trying to get it done. And one of the ways to have a quick, to me, it's like other things in life. You want quick reward to keep you in it. And that's Mandu. Gyms are slow. They're crowded this time of year. They're dirty. You're waiting on equipment. After a time, you're not getting results fast enough, and you just sort of give up. You get defeated. Mandu's different. It's an efficient workout because it's electronic muscle stimulation. You can try it for free right now. Get over to Mandu in Homewood. See how it works for you. It's the perfect component if you're on these weight loss shots and medicines because it's also effective. And it gives you a jump start on both toning your body you're losing muscle mass and bone density on those shots. You need to balance that out with some training. Check it out at Mandu for free. Mandu.com, MANDUU, in Homewood, Mandu.com. All right, y'all. About a minute before the top of the hour, there's a couple of live things going down too. We're monitoring always with the breaking news in the afternoons here on the station. So y'all hang in here with us. 545-9950. Just repeat that number. That's the feedback I get all the time. What's the number? I mean, we get new listeners all the time. So it's 545-9950. Y'all get in here if you want to get in here. And we got 2 more hours to go. Chasing the headlines, recapping everything from today here in just a minute. Right now, here's the 18-19 news.